pocket red glare, reppin' USA, so she going crazy. Wait for it, 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 hey.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Latino Free Minds. I am Gio. I am your host today, and I am glad to have you all here. I have a very special guest coming on today. He is a Marine Corps veteran, a husband, a father, a man of faith, and a longtime San Jose resident. After serving his country in uniform, he continued serving his community as a church leader, small business owner, music teacher, an R&D electrical test engineer in the medical device field. His story reflects service, discipline, faith, family, and a deep appreciation for the American dream. And now he's stepping forward once again to serve, this time as a candidate for the U.S. Congress in California's 18th district. I met this man here in Clovis at a Freedom Lunch, and he gave one of the most impressive presentations I've seen in a very long time. Please welcome my guest, Shane Lewis.
Awesome. Thank you, Gio.
I appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah,
How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. This is a highlight of the campaign for sure. I'm very happy to talk with you and share with the viewers what I know about government and what I think is the right way government should interface with the people. I'm really hoping that we can bring a lot of change for CD18 and actually inform the people about what their role is in government and what the role of government is and where the breakdown is. You did talk about uh, my background, but a large part of my research and development time was spent in failure analysis.
Really?
Yeah, so failure analysis basically figures out why things fail and then offer correction for them. So and the failure analysis that I had to do, it was in the field of electronics, it was mechanical, it was optical, it was chemical, it was process, it was altitude, vibration, you name it, and a lot of times. Um, I had to do failure analysis on items that I was not an expert in the field of. So I actually had to find out about what I was doing failure analysis on, performing failure analysis on, before I could actually perform failure analysis and had to reference experts in the field and make that all come together to actually come up with the reason why it failed so that design changes could be made, or if there is a process issue out on the manufacturing floor, that could be fixed, or if there was an applications issue out in the field, that they could actually add something to the manufacturing process. Maybe there was a conformal coat process that needed to be added in order to protect it while it was in the field. Those types of things. Um, and then I did that for about 11 years, and actually that's why companies hire me, medical device companies hire me in R&D, in order to use my failure analysis skills to help them uh, make sure that the product that they are producing is robust and predictable, high quality, high reliability. And so I've been doing that for some time, and it's been really good to me. that whole experience. And most of that in failure analysis is based on work experience. You don't learn failure analysis from school.
Right.
It's learned through profession. So 2016. So you understand how long ago this was. There was a politician that got on Fox News Sunday, and she said that the Second Amendment right could be regulated just like every other right. Okay, well, there you go. I don't know what that was, but anyway,
Second Amendment right.
yeah, she that did not sit well with me. I didn't because I didn't think that any right could be regulated.
Right.
That's actually what made me turn my failure analysis skills to politics. I got tired of politicians standing up on stage and just saying things and that literally are not true, or is just an opinion. But so I started having conversations with people on my own, right?
Yeah.
Giving my own opinion. That's how I first started. But I quickly realized that my opinion is just that. It's just an opinion. It doesn't actually mean anything to anyone. And the reason why that politician's opinion means more than mine is
Mhm.
because they're in the spotlight, they've held office, and people trust their opinion and what they are saying.
Yeah.
So I quickly realized that that's not going to be a viable option for me. So um, I started on my own finding everything about politics that I could. And so that's when I started reading the Federalist Papers, which tells you exactly why the Constitution exists, and everything that's in the Constitution, it will explain why it's there and its purpose. So anyone that is watching right now, you don't actually have to listen to your politician at all. Okay, you can go directly to the source, and you can actually find out for yourself. You don't have to wait with bated breath on every word that they say. You can actually find out for yourself, and it's not cryptic to understand. It's very, very simple. Okay, so I started there. I read all the Federalist Papers. Then I found out that there were anti-federalist papers, and I said, "Oh, really? So the anti-federalist papers is the argument to the Federalist Papers?" Okay,
You got to explain
so
that.
yeah, and so you get to see the other side, the other arguments regarding the Constitution and what's in it. And then once I was done with both of those, that's when I started reading up on the political philosophies. I read all of the political philosophies, just to get a sense. And this was not while I was in school, this was on my own. So I was literally, and I would recommend this, anyone that wants to do it, to read all of the political philosophies outside of school. Just don't even go to college. Read them on your own, so that you understand what they mean to you first, right? You need to understand what these political philosophies mean to you first, and then move forward. And then I read the biographies of Hamilton, Madison, Washington, and Jefferson, because I wanted to know what their lives were like. And then after all of that, since I had been exposed to the secular world of thinking about the Constitution, and I am a Christian, I actually went back to school uh, for my political science degree, my bachelor's in political science. And I went back to school at Liberty University because I wanted to see what was being taught that was different at a Christian university than what's taught in a secular world.
Right.
And so what was great about that is I had a chance to integrate my faith while I was getting my bachelor's. But what I found out is they don't really teach you anything. Most of what they teach you, because that school, just like every other school, they get federal dollars, and so the federal government, because it receives those federal dollars, the federal government gets to dictate what you're learning in school. right? And a lot of the courses reinforces the current system. And I'll give you an example. They say that party, and you guys are probably going to shake your head, like, what is he saying? But because I'm a Republican, but the Republicans will shake their head and they'll say, "Yep, that's actually true." Which is why I like the Republican Party. They don't ever hold back from the truth per se. So Federalist 63, Madison says there's only one thing that can defeat the Constitution. And this is a starting point that we're going to come back to repeatedly through this entire podcast. Okay. And Madison says the only thing that can promote tyranny in a constitutional republic is the only way that happens is the Senate has to defeat itself, corrupt itself. Then the Senate has to corrupt the state legislatures. The state legislatures has to corrupt the House of Representatives, and the House of Representatives has to corrupt the people at large. So if you think about that, right, the party structure has all of those parts in it. It has members of the state legislature. It has members of the House of Representatives. It has members of the Senate. It has the president. It has members of the three-letter agencies at the federal level. It has mayors at the lower level. It has board of supervisors. It has school teachers. It has NGOs, members of NGOs, nonprofit organizations. So basically, what has happened with the party structure is they have combined all of this power, where power was supposed to be separated in the different branches of government. They have consolidated all this power into a party structure outside of government, which now you have a lot of interest in the party structure that has the ability to go from the beginning to the end on an idea. And so, folks, that's where we're at today. So, from the standpoint of citizens who are voting, and especially servant leaders, whoever wants to serve, it's going to take someone that wants to limit themselves because there is so much power that is available. There's a lot of money and there's a lot of power for someone that has both to do anything they want. And that just makes it more important that the people understand that their role, they don't have a passive role anymore. The people are the only ones that can save our country right now. And so what I plan to do and what I want to do in Congress is to be completely open and honest about things. I don't care if that makes me lose an election. Doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me is that we have a citizenry that can hold government accountable.
Yeah. And that's what we're all about here at Latino Free Minds. Or it's all about accountability. And we'll talk about anybody that crosses the line. So, Shane, one of the reasons that I brought you on here, and I feel like with your introduction into uh, uh, into yourself, one of the things that I wanted to talk about were some of your key issues that you're campaigning on. And the first one is immigration. And on your website, it starts out with that the immigration system is broken. And I wanted to get into that and allow you to explain what you mean by the fact that it's broken and it's being exploited.
Yeah. So before I get into that, I want to give a little background here on the Constitution itself, so that we can get into it and understand what the actual issue is.
Right.
It's not policy; it's the purpose of our government. So our government, our constitutional republic, was set up so that we would be able to use selfish ambition of people and self-interest of people in a way that would be advantageous to the people. The founders never thought that people would be somehow more virtuous than the rest of society. They found out from the Articles of Confederation that no one was virtuous and that everyone was self-interested with
Yeah.
selfish ambition. And so, with that being said, if there is anything that's wrong in government right now, it's because the policy um, or the power that the federal government has is not adequately protected against unintended self-interest and selfish ambition.
Yeah.
Right? So when you start hearing about fraud, waste, and abuse, and my whole thing is exploitation, what that means is there's not proper guardrails on government to protect against the selfish ambition, and especially since all that power is now concentrated in the party structure, right? So the question then becomes policy itself becomes a way for us to understand from an analysis standpoint to understand where those gaps are to where it's allowing people to abuse the system, to waste money, to take advantage of people. And illegal immigration, actually, I can get into that now, is literally taking advantage of people. And I'll tell you my history. I've been a Republican pretty much all my life, except in 2020 where I became an NPP. Then I had my own party, and then I came back to the Republican Party again. I had a party of one. I was a party of one for a while because I just didn't want people to mess with me anymore. I was like, just leave me alone. I was a little frustrated with the whole process, but um, my wife is from Guatemala, and she has family members that have been here illegally. We know people that have been here illegally. These people are good people. They work harder than I do. Okay, so there was one guy that we knew. He would sleep on my living room floor 3 days a week. He worked three jobs, and he'd work 18 hours a day. He'd get up the next day, and he would be gone before I would get up. He would get to work at around 5 a.m. And we did that for years with this one guy until finally I would come home and he'd sleep on my living room floor, and I could never watch TV because I felt bad. I couldn't relax and unwind or anything because I didn't want to get in the way of his recovery because he had no time like I did. Um, so we did that for a while, but there was another couple that we knew. The guy he was a really good guy. He's very, very sharp. And I will just say this: if you don't fix your situation with immigration, government will fix it for you.
Yeah.
Okay, you will not have a say so. They will come in and they will make the decision for you. You don't ever want government to do that.
Yeah.
Please don't let government to do that to you. Okay, don't do that. So anyway, I told this one guy, very sharp guy. I said, you need to get your citizenship. You need to go, do whatever you need to do, but get your citizenship. Because he was married to a young lady that was here, that was a citizen. They had a child, and the last thing you want is you want your family broken up because of your immigration status. And make no mistake, government can do it. Okay, that's
Yeah.
just how it is. They have the power to do that. Well, they were living up here. He found out very quickly that he couldn't make it up here, so he said, "Well, I can make it down in Southern California." Well, they had been down there before, and his wife was not living in very good condition down there, and so she had been privy to the conversations that I had had with him, and she basically said, "I am not going back down there. I am not living in those conditions again. I'm not having my daughter live in those conditions. You are getting your citizenship." So she put pressure on him to get his citizenship. And so he went back to his home country and he asked my wife and I, he said, will you look after my wife and my daughter while I'm gone? And I said, yeah, sure. So they lived with us for 3 years while he went back to Guatemala. He waited for immigration to call him. He got his citizenship. He came back over here and he was in my house for 7 months, and I finally had to kick him out. I was like, dude, you got your citizenship. You got to get out of my house. I need my space. You know,
I gotta watch TV.
I need my house back, dude. You have no idea how long this has been going on. So anyway, he left, and he bought his own business, and now and his wife helps him, and he makes a ton more money than I do. Okay, he makes so much money that his wife can stay home. They bought their house, right? They're sending their daughter to college. Their three boys are in soccer, and they're almost about to graduate. And they're established in the community, and more importantly, they're safe. The government's not going to come in, and the government is not going to break up their family because of somebody coming in the wrong way. And so when we talk about immigration, and specifically illegal immigration, and we need to call it what it is, we should not do what Zolofgren is saying, and that is call them undocumented immigrants.
Oh yeah, I hate when they do
And,
that.
and the reason why is because it allows government to get away with stuff and then take advantage of them, and then when people are no longer needed, just kick them out. Right? There needs to be an urgency to fix this. Right? Um, so anyway, when we say leave them alone, they're just coming here for a better life. Understand what we are doing to them here, right? What we are doing to them here is exposing them to being taken advantage of by everybody that is here legally. Anyone can take advantage of them. A business owner can take advantage of them. A citizen, anyone legal, they really have no rights. Even government. And actually, what you're going to discover tonight is government is the worst entity that takes advantage of illegal immigrants, and it's by design. Once you see what I'm going to present tonight.
Should we get into that?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into that.
All right, let's get into it. Just give me patience here.
Okay, this is great. So you have my email. You guys, if you have any questions,
Oh,
you
sorry.
guys can email me. Of course, you can go to my website. Although I will say that I have to finish up my website. I'm not quite done because I've been so busy with everything else. But hopefully, you'll get everything you need from tonight. So, okay. So we're going to go over what the purpose of government is and of citizens, serfs, and slaves. Then we're going to talk about apportionment, which is the driver behind using people, apportionment, and the census impact. And it's gonna blow your mind when I tell you. And then we can talk about my campaign objectives, but these are actually morphing as I talk to. My campaign objectives are morphing as I talk to people actually in the community, the needs of the farmers, and some of the projects that the federal government or the state government wants to push on to local governments. So all of that is changing as I learn more about CD 18 and how I can help CD 18. So let's go
Shan,
ahead.
I just got to mention, I truly appreciate that you admit that, because so many folks that are getting into politics, they pretend to have all the answers, but the fact that you're willing to say, no, actually, when I'm out there meeting people, my objectives are shifting.
I heard, I don't know, I heard in the governor's debate last night. I have a real problem whenever someone says that they have all the answers. They want to seem like they have more knowledge than anyone else.
Yeah.
Um, and that for me that comes from analysis, because I would say I wouldn't know what the failure was, and I would say we need to do this analysis, and people would come. It'd be thousands of dollars that the company would have to spend, and they would want to know what we're going to find ahead of time, right? And I would say I don't know what we're going to find, but I can guarantee you we're going to find something, and I'll be able to give you an answer. I don't know if it's going to be the answer that you want to hear, but I know that you and I together will find out what the answer is, and whether or not this is or is not an issue, and if it is an issue, how we can fix it.
Yeah.
And most of the time, there are analysis and politics as well, unless you've been in the field for a while. You should have a null hypothesis, meaning you go in, you don't know what to expect. You discover the answer as you go through it so that you can find the right answer.
And I appreciate it. I'm going to go to the next slide here.
Sure. All right, so let's talk about the purpose of government, and this is really important for everyone watching. You need to understand what your government is supposed to do on your behalf. So, of course, the purpose of government is the preamble to the Constitution, right? The Constitution is not just a list of enumerated powers. In the beginning of the Constitution, it says, hey, to government, hey, this is the reason why you have these powers. And if you really want to fulfill your purpose, this is what you need to do. And it spells it out right in the preamble to the Constitution. Go ahead and hit the mouse button. Okay, this was in Federalist 84. In both the preamble to the Constitution and the preamble, you'll see that the same thing is in there, and that is to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. So you can click it again. Yeah, and so it shows you right there. And so what that means is government does not do things on your behalf. Okay, all government does is create policies so that you can bless yourself, right? So you can bless your family, you can bless your community, you can bless your job, you can bless your church, you can bless your friends, you can bless your nonprofit with your time, your resources, um, anything you have, and it creates strong. In this way, it creates strong community ties, which is what I'm all about, because I'm using my platform to actually provide nonprofits, local nonprofits who are dedicated to helping people to connect with the community and say, hey, this is what this nonprofit is doing. If you need help, go here, and so that the community knows that people are actually doing really good things in the community. And it doesn't always need to be, government doesn't always need to have the answer. Okay, next slide. All right. So this basically goes into what I just said. Government is supposed to enable the people to secure their own blessings of liberty. It's not supposed to do it on their behalf. Okay. So next slide. Okay. So how does government secure the blessings of liberty? It does it by these four things, which are also in the preamble to the Constitution. So it establishes justice, it ensures domestic tranquility, provides for the common defense, and promotes the general welfare. And only if those, and so in policy, each of those four things is supposed to exist in some fashion. And if government does that, then it promotes the people to secure their own blessings of liberty and posterity. Okay, so now we're going to talk about citizens, slaves, and serfs. Okay, and the purpose of this is to provide you with a reference in our past to say we're doing the same thing today as we were back then, but no one has really made the connection between what has happened in our past, in America's past, and how that is coming up once again 250 years after the direct Declaration of Independence, which is why I'm actually really glad that I'm running right now. Okay, so what does a citizen possess? A citizen possesses, go ahead and click free will. So we have the ability to think what we want to do, and we also have action. So we can live by our conscience, our moral and religious interests, and then we get to put that into action, which is our liberty. We get to act on it freely. Okay. So now I'm going to connect it back to Aristotle here, so that we can make a connection. And Aristotle says a possession too then is an instrument for the purpose of life and one's liberty. So remember, life and property, right, is the pursuit of happiness. And so he says that an instrument is for the purpose of life, and one's property is the aggregate of such instruments, and the slave is a possession of the animate sort. Okay, so what he's saying there is a slave is an animate tool, and then of a free person. Locke says that, okay, if you enslave me, you're going to put me in a state of war. Okay, so understand, when we think back in history, what we're talking about is people that have no rights, no liberties, no free will, no ability to act on their own action. They're only tolerated to do the bidding of other people. Okay? So when we talk about the government, I want to make that clear. My campaign focuses on the government, not on people. When government does not do what it is supposed to do, it can have unintended consequences. Okay? So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so here it says slaves have no original thought that can be fulfilled in society, and therefore can neither exercise free will nor benefit from it. Okay, click again. And this is where we make the connection. The illegal immigrant is the new slave class. If you go to my Facebook page, you will see I have a very long post. And if you need to find out more information about it, I encourage you to do so. So it says the illegal immigrant is the new slave class because the class is not able to exercise liberty according to their own free will and are just one step away from a state of war with all of society. But understand, it's the government that is doing this. Okay, so let's look at the similarities here. When the Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, allowed slaves to be counted as 3/5 towards apportionment. Okay. So, and that apportionment is House seats. The 13th and the 14th Amendment were both adopted post to the Civil War, ending slavery. At that point, there was no exception to apportionment. And here's the key: refusing to secure the border is instituting a serf class to treat illegal aliens as commodities instead of people. And states that encourage illegal immigration are in direct violation of the intent of the 13th and the 14th Amendments. Okay? Now, is it the immigrant's fault if government says we're not going to enforce immigration law? You can just come on in. Is it really the fault of the immigrant if they get the signal from government saying they're not going to enforce immigration law, so I'm coming on in? And the fact of the matter is I don't think it is. I think it's the government has the responsibility to enforce immigration law, and the issue that we're having now is we're having two parties that are not uniformly enforcing immigration law, and it's hurting local communities. When you get one presidential administration that allows 5,000 border crossings. Those people have to go to local communities. Those local communities, the local government is not equipped to deal with an inrush of people. So they have high unemployment rates, they have healthcare crisis, they have housing crisis, they have the schools aren't equipped to deal with these with inrush of people. They have low test scores because at the local level they can't kick these people back that they can't take care of to the state, and they can't do anything to the federal government. All the local government can do is react to what your federal government is doing. So my entire platform basically has shifted to I just want your federal government to be consistent and predictable so that your local governments can actually provide services for local communities, right? And they're not firefighting all the time and having to borrow money in the form of bonds and measures from the people because of what the pressures that they're under because of other governments. Either the state or the federal government. So really, I would say that's where my platform has shifted recently. So I'll go ahead and go to the next slide. I already shared my personal story, so let's keep going. All right, so now we're gonna see how apportionment and the census is impacted by what what a government does or does not do on enforcing immigration. So let's go to the next slide. So this is a little difficult to see, but in 2020, no, and more like I want to say 2021, I kept wondering why different administrations had different results on immigration. I couldn't understand it. So I recreated the whole apportionment process from 2010. I did this originally in 2010 just to see if I could come up with the same apportionment distribution for seats in the House. And then I started looking, okay, well, how does immigration affect that? And the one thing we need to understand is that you may or may not know this. Everyone in a state is counted on the census. Everybody, okay? You can look it up yourself. Everyone, regardless of your status, whether you're here legally or illegally, whether you're a citizen, everyone is counted on the census, okay? So these curves are all the 50 states, and you can see that they are concave. All right, so go to the next slide. Now the black line that is here is apportionment or House seats. Everyone gets one seat to begin with. This tells you that that black line with each of those red dots is a priority value that is assigned to each of the states. So what happens is you have priority values in each of the 50 states, and then they get put together in one column from highest to lowest. And the first 385 priority values gets a House seat. And you can see as you get further down, that black line is near horizontal. You can't even see any white as it gets down towards the bottom, which means the priority values are very close together between each of the states. Again, each of these concave lines is a state. All right. So what does that mean? Well, I know you've heard that politicians say that it takes 740,000 people to get another House seat. And that is not the case, because the way apportionment is done, all you need to do is overcome the next highest priority value, which is nowhere near 740,000 people. And I'll show you in the next slide. So this right here, the House seats are on the far left. The difference in population between one state, you can see the state in the middle. There's the House seat, the priority value, the state, and then the state seats that are compared between, and the difference in population. So what these arrows are showing is that if you wanted to overcome Oklahoma and New Jersey, if you were in New Jersey and you said, gosh, how many people do I need to overcome? The next highest priority value of the next state, New Jersey would only need 74 people. If you wanted to do that from Pennsylvania to Texas, you would only need 151 people every single year. If you wanted to do that between California and North Carolina, you would only need 29 people. So what that says is apportionment can be affected. Think about having a birthday party. The people in the room for the birthday party could affect whether or not a state goes up in priority value and down in priority value. Okay, and so when you have parties that can manipulate states collectively in order to get House seats like this, you start to understand why illegal immigration is important, and you start to understand that these people are being used as commodities. They don't have to give them citizenship. All they need warm bodies in a state. And so what they do is they give them just a little bit in order to stay in the state, to survive, and they get everything. The state gets everything. Now, go to the next slide because I want to see something. Okay, this is basically more the same. This goes into more detail as to the calculation, how it's manipulated. I'm not going to go into that. But go on to the next one. So for the 2010 apportionment, what I did is I subtracted from DHS numbers. I used DHS data and subtracted known populations of illegal immigrants. And what you see is you start seeing that the trend line goes more towards the southern states. And in fact, what happens is the larger states lose House seats and you get smaller states that gain them, which is really what you want, right? So that you get a true representation of what the nation values. Okay, so next slide. And this just summarizes what I said. I'm not going to go into that in too much detail. So go ahead and go to the next one. Now, what you may not know is your state not only gets House seats, and no one is saying this, but they get federal dollars from the census. The census dollars are dependent upon three things. Okay, it's dependent on raw population, meaning everyone in the state, regardless of their status, is counted. Raw population, the amount of people below the poverty line, and if you come into the country illegally, you're going to be below the poverty line, and population density. Well, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them are. Okay, so your state can actually use those three things to maximize federal dollars. And in case you don't know how much federal dollars this state gets, they get $175 billion. That is 36% of the state budget is based on census dollars to help support the state. So the state has an inherent interest to maximize and exploit this formula for census dollars in order to maximize these funds. Now, how does this affect everyone that's voting? Federalist 49 says that the legitimate fountain of power is the people. That fountain of power is not elections. That fountain of power is your revenue, is your tax revenue. When you have other revenue streams that flow into the state, those revenue streams are competing with you unless you can make those revenue streams work together, right? And so what's happening right now in the state of California is we have revenue streams that are competing for your attention. That's why the state right now is raising all of these taxes, because they're saying that the one big beautiful bill, uh, decreased all of these benefits, and it did. And so what they're doing is they're going to tax everyone in the state to make that up. But it's not made for, I don't want to say a good purpose, right? You have to think about all of the regulations that the state of California is putting on houses, right? I've been seeing posts now that there's about $300,000, over $300,000 that's going into the cost of our houses just from regulation. If you manipulate that cost up, it puts more people in the poverty line, below the poverty line, because people can't afford houses in the state. If you have people coming in illegally into the state, you have a state that now is manipulating people below the poverty line. And we see what's happening in Salinas. There's about in the off season, there's about anywhere between a 10 and 13% unemployment rate. And that unemployment rate is probably much higher than that, because, you have people that aren't actually getting benefits.
Yeah.
And so they're below the radar. You have hotels that are being used to house these people because, again, your local governments can't do anything. If your state government does something, if your federal government does something, everything that the federal government does, the state government does, falls on the shoulders of your local government and everybody in the community. There is no recourse. So you pay for whether or not your federal government is doing a good job or a bad job, or your state is doing a good job or a bad job. Okay? So from the federal level, immigration is a huge concern of mine, because I want to make sure that what the federal government is doing is, again, consistent and predictable, because I want local communities to thrive, and I want your state government to turn its eyes back on you, and not be distracted between federal dollars and taxes that you provide the state. I want the state to focus back on communities in the state, understanding how the state can support local communities, and I want there to be a genuine sense of community and cooperation. But right now, that's not happening, because the state is saying, hey, we need all of this homeless housing. By the way, who do you think they're going to put in these homeless housing? Who do you think is going to go in there? It's supporting the state's, in my opinion, it's supporting the state's own interest, because the price of housing affordability is not going to go down, because they're taking the only limited resource that we have in California, and that's land. They're taking it away from farmers, and they're taking it away from communities. They're starting to tie the backs of the Board of Supervisors within CD 18, because they're putting pressure on especially in San Benito, to get these housing projects underway. So again, I want your governments to work together, but right now it seems like there seems to be a difference in purpose for each of the governments. And for your federal government, the fountain of power at the federal level that's competing with you is the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is a big competition for you. And I'll give you an example. We have $39 trillion in debt right now, which that leads me to the second thing that I want, the big, hairy idea that I want to accomplish in Washington. And that is $39 trillion equates to $230,000 on the shoulders of everyone that is working in the United States. Can you get rid of $230,000? By the way, they're continuing to borrow, and this past year it was, I think, $1.8 trillion, which is an additional $10,000 in 1 year. And I'm gonna say one other thing before I take a break. We had one other government in this country before we had the Constitution. Okay, and that was the Articles of Confederation. The Articles of Confederation failed because the government didn't have enough money. Now, the government didn't have enough money because the states weren't required to give money to the federal government. We don't have that excuse anymore. At some point, something is going to have to give. And I think it's time that we hit the reset button. We start making sure our governments can cooperate together and that the interests of the people are center stage of what the government is supposed to do for the people, and find ways. We need to start helping our communities, actually. And if the federal government is using all of these dollars and creating debt, it's not going to have dollars for big projects. Like in California, we're going to need water for our farmers. We're going to need energy for AI. Uh, in CD18 and in the Bay Area, we should literally start thinking about, what is the next purpose of the Bay Area, of Silicon Valley. The next big thing is EI. I'm sorry, AI, right? So we're going to need energy. Farmers need water. We can actually connect those things together to where farmers can have their land back. We can get rid of the solar farms. We can get rid of the windmills. We're going to have higher efficiency energy solutions that can run the Bay Area. The farmers can get their land back. They can start farming and providing produce, low cost produce, back to CD18 and around the world and the United States. So we need to start thinking in those terms, in my opinion. Otherwise, we're going to get blindsided, and your taxes are going to go through the roof because your state and your federal government's not planning for that right now.
Shane, do you want me to pause the PowerPoint?
Yeah, I will just say this, right? What this shows is that the largest state, the state that gets the most federal dollars from the census, is California. Florida and Texas are nowhere near California. So, just to give you an idea as to how many dollars California gets. Now, I've heard some people say, "Well, yeah, but we give them more money, than what we take."
I was just gonna say that. That's always the claim. California pays the federal government more money than we get back from the federal government.
Let's understand something here. We are hurting people. If we go back to the purpose of government, the government is to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves. If people are coming into our country and they cannot secure anything, and government is not stopping it, and government is getting money off of it, then that's no excuse. I don't care if California gives more money than they get back. What I care about is they're using people in order to get what they want. My job is to make sure that your liberties, your rights are secured and that your government represents you. My role is not to give the state of California more money at your expense.
Man, Shane, I think it's a lot to swallow, but I just want to can I move back a couple slides
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
right here? So looking at the data, you can see how easy it is to manipulate those seats from one state to another. And what comes with those seats, Shane? It's the federal
Power.
dollars. It's the federal
Yeah,
dollars.
dollar. You're absolutely right.
So I I look at I'm assuming that the column um of where it says difference is it's the amount of seats that have been shifted over the years.
Right. So it's not over the years. It's if you subtract illegal immigration
Oh wow.
from from the census, then you have the smaller states that gain House seats and the larger states that actually lose seats. And actually, you'll notice that most of the seats that are lost are from Republican states.
Yeah.
You have more states that are lost from the Republican states than California, even though California has more total House seats. But let's be, you know, um, if we want a government that serves the people, um, we have to always come back to, again, what was our government supposed to do? It was supposed to encourage selfish ambition and selfish interest for the good of the people. But when you have policies that have been in effect for years and then states understand how to exploit those policies, that means those policies have to change. And so, what I want to do at the federal level is I want to make it to where illegal immigration, a state can no longer exploit people for the purpose of simply getting more money, more federal dollars, ignoring its purpose, challenging the federal government on naturalization because only the federal government has the enumerated power over naturalization and immigration. And most of all, I don't want people in CD18 or actually really all across the country getting themselves hurt for a lie because really it's just a flat out lie and and I see people. The other thing I'll say is please don't use your emotional currency on political issues.
Yeah.
Do not let your government deplete you of your emotional currency. Hang on to that and use it for your family. If you ever get to the point to where you're so frustrated with government and politics, just turn it off. Turn it off and come back in a while. But don't let it ruin your life or be the center of your life or distract you from what's important. You know, uh, and that's actually what
I
I would say.
it makes me think of the the saying "Q bono," like who benefits, um, and I think when we show the data of how the census manipulates, it makes me think, like you said, immigration is being used as a tool um, to move
Yeah,
the dollars around.
I would say I would be very specific, right? I would not say immigration is being used. I would say people are being used, not just immigrants, citizens. Okay, so this is the one thing that I haven't gotten into. If your state is getting $175 billion from the federal government based on the census, you don't like what your state government is doing, you decide to leave the state. Okay, your $11,000 or $15,000 means absolutely nothing to the state of California when they're getting $175 billion from the federal government. So whenever they're getting extra money that they really shouldn't get, and it interferes with American citizens and the state representing them, that means that's another reason why we need to make sure that census dollars go to a purpose. I mean, a very specific purpose. I'll tell you another thing that I want to accomplish at the federal level. You have the part of the census dollars is it gives schools grants. So you can get CSI funds if the school is going under, right?
Right.
But we know that all of the schools, all the public schools in California, most of them, not all of them, but most of them are failing horrendously. I ran for county board of education. I didn't win, but I was also on the school site council that same year. And that school had CSI funds, and they didn't do anything with those funds. They had about a $255,000, and they really did not do much to help improve the school. So when we give CSI funds, what I would like to do is I would like to see if the schools are recovering. The schools, if they meet a recovery percentage, let's say in a year they're recovering by 5 or 10%, then we review the school. We see if they actually have a recovery plan, and then those CSI dollars are given to the schools to put them in the high gear to recover,
Yeah.
in order to make sure that those students can read and perform math at state level. And that way, what it does is it actually it's very similar to I know public schools. You're not going to like this. It's very similar to charter schools in a way,
Hmm.
because if charter schools do not perform, they don't exist.
Right.
Right? They just don't. And so in this way, public schools will not get funding unless they already have a plan and they prove that that plan is effective and they're recovering. And so hopefully that'll make the school either perform, or they will be a burden on the school district, and the school district will have to do something about that. Um, but I will say this: next year, people don't know this, but next year, because of the one big beautiful bill, you're going to be able to send your kid. You're going to be able to donate to a nonprofit that concentrates on schools, and in your name, that school will you can donate up to $1,750. You donate that, and anyone can in someone's name. You donate that to a school of your choice, and you want your kid to go there. That nonprofit will donate the money that you gave them for your school to go to your school choice. So you will get a tax write off from the nonprofit, and you will be able to send your kid to a school of your choice. And if you think about how businesses in the state of California could benefit from that, and people have businesses too, where businesses could say, instead of saying this is our portfolio, businesses instead could say, okay, so this is our benefit. You get maybe $300 a quarter, $250 a quarter, or something, or however much it is. Um, where do you want us to donate this money? You could get companies working together with individuals and families working together for the good of their kids to actually send them to a school where they want them to go. And then on top of that, get a tax write-off. But the key to that is the governor has to sign off on it.
I'm guessing that is like public schools, right? Because I mean, with the private school, you can already just pay the private school to go there. But if I wanted to send my son to the school outside of the district because they're rated much higher, maybe it's a blue ribbon school, I can pay that donation, and they'll pay that to the school, and then I can send my son to that school.
You can send from my understanding, you can send your son or daughter to any school you want.
Wow. I actually I like that because it then it shifts a lot of things locally, where people will the prices of the houses near the schools that are rated higher, the prices of those houses go higher up. So who's to say that the district isn't manipulating that, sending the better teachers there, helping them improve the test scores, versus the schools that are in the more impoverished areas. They're just not getting the attention.
Well, that's why I was saying that could be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you also have federal funds that will go to these schools. If they need help, they can always ask for help in order to come up with a plan. Charter schools, they get reviewed all the time, and just because because they're in a neighborhood that is uh, a difficult neighborhood, right? You have a
Yeah.
lot of people that need help, and sometimes those charter schools can't perform up to standard, but you see improvements in what they're doing, right? And so it's not always test scores, but the final what we really want for our kids is we want our kids to succeed. We want everyone to have equal opportunity to succeed. There is one thing I forgot about immigration. It's not about just allowing people to come here and live here legally, right? So or be legal. What you want to do is you want people to come here and you want to equip them with the tools so that they can succeed. So, whenever we have people coming here from other countries, we need to make sure that they are equipped with the tools that they need in order to succeed
Right.
in the country. And if that means helping them learn English, helping them learn how to invest their money, understanding the investment options, because we want people to come here and be independently or financially independent, or at least to the point to where they can take care of their family, they can pursue their dreams, right? That's what we want in this country. We don't want to just say, yeah, you're here legally now, and then just cut them loose and not provide them guidance on how they can succeed in the United States. Because even people even kids coming out of high school, things are changing so rapidly. Kids don't even know what jobs they need anymore. um, because the technology is changing so quickly. AI is coming. Everybody's concerned about that. So government actually should help navigate some of those things so that there's not as much uncertainty. And I think that would be a good place where businesses and government could work together in order to provide the information that the people need in order to set up their future.
Yeah, it's something that like Mike Rowe talks about all the time. Is starting these programs where we start to train the younger generation how to do jobs that AI might not be able to replace for a while. Plumbing jobs, um, job blue collar type jobs.
Yeah. And I think, again, government shouldn't do it for businesses, but government could certainly partner with businesses in order to make that information available so people can make informed decisions. Our kids can make informed decisions about which direction they want to go in the future, and parents as well. And I think that's really important. I mean, if government is to allow people to secure the blessings of liberty to themselves, they really need the information to be able to do that.
I, I'm I, I'm looking through my notes here, Shane, and you have covered a lot of ground right now. So we've covered immigration, tax reform, self governance, liberty for all. Um, One area that we haven't gone into yet is Second Amendment, and we opened up with that earlier. Um, but I wanted to come back to Second Amendment
Yeah,
and
sure, sure.
and allow you to explain why that is one of the priorities on your list.
So the first thing we need to understand is that the Second Amendment is not about guns. Okay. Again, it's in the Constitution. We have to think about what the purpose of the Constitution is. The purpose of the Constitution is to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves. Now, some people will say, yeah, but guns are getting people killed. Liberty itself is not a safe. Liberty is not safe. Okay, liberty is it's if you want liberty, if you want freedom, um, government can put things in place to try and put guardrails to where it's safer. But if you really want liberty, liberty is not safe. Okay, that's the first thing that we have to do. That's why it's important that government. So I'll say this: government can either government can also affect how safe crime. Right, people are concerned about crime. If your government is making it hard for you to live, if it's creating policies where you're paying more taxes, if it's manipulating the price of housing because of regulation, because they want more money from you, right? And people can't afford to live in the area and they have to eat. They will do whatever they need to do in order to survive. And that means rob you, right? Go into your house.
Yeah.
They will steal from you. They will do whatever they need to do in order to satisfy the most basic needs. And so, just by making sure your government is doing the right things, you can minimize that. And law enforcement, you may not need the level of law enforcement that you would normally need in an environment where government is applying all of this pressure on people to be able to survive. I can tell you that my wife and I have struggled our entire life. We have a house, but if we had to buy this house now, I could not buy this house. I don't know. I don't know how people can afford to live in this area. To be honest with you, it's so out of control right now. But that's something that we also that's something else we need to think about is that the environment can be manipulated by something that government is or is not doing. Government can make it harder, or government can make it easier for you. And everybody has their breaking point. Everybody breaks, okay? Everybody breaks. There is not some noble person that doesn't have their breaking point. And so we need to keep that in mind when it comes to crime and law enforcement and the role of government and what government can do to make sure that doesn't happen. But back to the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment actually, the Bill of Rights was, and I did my thesis on this, on James Madison, and for my master's in political science. But North Carolina, a delegate from North Carolina said that, really what they wanted on the Constitution was an express negative. Right. And so that's what Madison did. And they had not yet discussed how the Bill of Rights, the method of Bill of Rights, that would be in the Constitution. So Madison took it upon himself, based on the suggestion from the delegate of North Carolina, and he created express negatives directly related to Article 1, Section 8, which is the enumerated powers of Congress, the powers of Congress. And so the Second Amendment, along with all the other Bill of Rights that we know, now the Second Amendment was a different form back then, but this was back in June 8th, 1789. He introduced the Bill of Rights to reside in Article 1, Section 9, between clauses 3 and 4. And that is limits on congressional power, which is stipulated in Article 1, Section 8. So, and the Second Amendment, because it was taken out of Article 1, Section 9, the prefatory clause that speaks to a well-regulated militia, that's in there because it points back to Article 1, Section 8, clauses 15 and 16, which talks about regulating the militia, arming the militia. So what it says is it doesn't relieve, even though the Second Amendment is there, it doesn't relieve Congress of the obligation to maintain, train, and equip and organize the militia in Article 1, Section 8. So that still stays in effect. And by the way, that is the collective right that people talk about. The collective right is the right of the state to have a militia. And that militia is based on what Washington used during the Revolutionary War. He tried to use regular militia, but the regular militia was not trained. And so every time the bombs would go off, they would haul ass out of there. The bombs would go off and the militia would run the other way.
Yeah.
And Washington could not use them. So he told Congress, he goes, I cannot use these people. I need well trained militia. I need people that are just as good as the regulars. And so that's what they did. And those people, those soldiers, those militia are known as Minutemen. And we've all heard of Minutemen. And
Hmm.
so when we talk about well regulated militia in the Constitution, what we're talking about is Minutemen, right? So anyway, the Second Amendment starts off with a prefatory clause, says, by the way, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 15 and 16 still applies. The operative clause, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, is the individual right of people to keep and bear arms. But that's not the most important part. The most important part is to understand why the Second Amendment exists. I mean, if it's a right, why isn't it part of the First Amendment? If the people have this right, why isn't it part of the First Amendment? And the reason why it's not part of the First Amendment is because it's a shared interest of both government and the people. Because the purpose of government is to secure liberty. And so public liberty, which is at the local level and the state level, public liberty is derived from individual liberty. If we didn't have any individual liberty, we wouldn't have public liberty. And then general liberty at the federal level is derived from the state, from each of the states. And that's when we start saying, rights and general liberties at the federal level. And it's by the majority. But here's the thing: the liberties that were defended at the state level and the federal level were the same interests and liberties of the people at the individual level. That's why the militia worked. The militia worked because the liberties of the state and the liberties of the federal government were the same interests and liberties of the individual. And so that's why the Second Amendment is so important. The Second Amendment is so important because if your government is concerned about defending liberty and preserving liberty, and your government starts taking away your Second Amendment right, it means it has forgotten its purpose and how to align with the people. And so, and then the part of the reason that is because people don't read the Federalist Papers anymore. Your representative doesn't read it anymore. They don't really have any interest, and they just pull everything out of thin air and what their interests are, right?
Yeah. So, excuse me. um, so the just to summarize, um, we should be able to have not just the firearms, but we should be able to. What's going on?
No, I'm reading the comments.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Um, so we should be able to be well armed and be able to stand up and defend ourselves um, as men and men, right?
yeah. Well. I mean, if you're going to defend our way of life, right? If we're going to defend our way of life, the one thing I didn't talk about is tax relief. So, uh, I'm going out of order here, but I'll finish this idea really quick.
Hmm.
Yes, we want the citizenry needs to be capable, right? And they need to be capable of defending liberty and preserving the liberties of others, looking out for each other. And I feel like there's in society today, there is we depend on the police for everything. Police doesn't they don't necessarily get there until it's all over with.
Yeah.
People have already paid the price, and I think part of the issue is that government has taught people to be passive,
Yeah.
and when I say capable, we don't really have the mindset right now of people being capable, and being part of self governance is being capable and defending your liberties, and those who are vulnerable around you. So that's why one of another thing I want to do at the federal level is, we need um, we need to have a Bill of Rights slash MAHA tax relief. So what that means is, and this will help healthcare too. So if you have a gym membership, if you have gym equipment, if you're taking an armed or unarmed defense class, if you're buying a safe, anything related to your Bill of Rights, you should be able to write that off on your taxes. Government should not have any access at all to any of the money that you use for those things. And
I like that
also,
idea.
yeah,
I
and
like
I
that
think
idea actually.
also, I think government has shown us with everything that's been exposed over the past couple of years, there is room to reduce the taxes on wages and salaries. I think it's time we stop being scared about it, and really be bold about giving significant tax relief to the American people.
I I I agree with that, and I love the idea of being able to write off a firearm purchase because I agree with you. With the idea of maybe you because of economic circumstances somebody breaks into your house. Um, you often hear the sad story of, oh, that person lived an hour and a half away from the nearest sheriff's office, so they have to protect themselves. They have to use a firearm. It's so common in rural areas. We think, yeah, people in the rural areas they have firearms, but in the city they don't because the police are there. But I live in a city, and the police department is at least 10, 15 minutes away. If traffic is good, 10 minutes away. It's not going to take 10 minutes for somebody because of an economic circumstance that breaks into my house and sees me. If they are armed, it's going to take them a lot less than 10 minutes to kill me. And I have to be able
So
to protect myself and protect my family.
yeah, and the other thing too, it aligns with what the state is doing right now. Right, the state wants you to have a safe, and so we can align these things so that it aligns with what the state requires of people in order to have a firearm in their house. And if they want to take firearm proficiency classes, which I think they probably should, if they're going to have a firearm in their house, they should know how to handle it and be safe with it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, all of those things should factor into actually having a firearm.
Not just one safe, two safes. You're not
You
supposed to
got to
store
say
your
you have
you're not supposed
safe.
to
Space. Yeah.
store your ammunition with the firearm.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah, so you have the large safe for your weapon, and then the small container slash safe for your
Sure,
ammo.
sure. You can do
Yeah,
it that way.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I agree. I really like that proposal, um, and I have to admit, Shane, I hear you talk, and I think, should they be worried when you win? Because I I mean, I think about your area, which covers part of Fresno, actually, all the
yeah,
way up to San Jose.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a massive area. To me, it's a weird area because San Jose. is very different from the area of Fresno that you cover and everything in between. Does that include Los Baños?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'd have to look at the map because the Prop 50 changed it
Oh, that's right.
and moved it to the right some, so it might be in there. I'm not sure though, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So, um, if your district does vote you in, they got to be worried about somebody that has a mind like you, somebody that actually wants to break things down and propose things that are gonna really change, right?
It
It's almost
really does.
it's almost it's and it's to me they're not scary ideas. To me, it's like, yeah, that's so common sense. Isn't that what government is for? Like when we're going through um, the PowerPoint, I don't know if this is what you intended for me to think. The way I thought was we got to get rid of the census. This doesn't make sense. Why are we doing this? We need to stop counting the we need to stop counting the illegals in this. It's not fair to us and it's not fair to them. It incentivizes them to come here. Those are
Let
the
me, let
thoughts
me,
that are going through my head.
let me just say, I listen a lot to what politicians say. Okay,
Hmm.
my wife's over there; she's talking to me.
That's okay.
Um, mhm, mhm. So there's something else. I listen to what politicians say. Okay, and I cue on a lot of things. Yeah, I heard one politician say that migrants, and he lumped everyone together, should stay here because they pay taxes.
Mm,
Okay, so I want you to think about something though. Who else pays taxes? We pay taxes.
the citizens.
Citizens pay taxes. So what that says to me is, okay, there is no difference to government. They don't care if you're here legally or illegally. They don't care if you're a citizen. They don't care the difference in your status. All they care about is their tax revenue.
Yeah.
Okay. So the main idea and the main issue again is making sure that we already know that everyone has selfish ambition, everyone has self interest, and we have this thing called the party structure that is getting in the way of that. So whenever we think about, we see all of this exploitation, we see citizens getting taken advantage of. We got to think, okay, how do we define policy such that we make sure that it directs the self-interest and the self-ambition to what government is supposed to do, and it doesn't allow, because let's be honest, I mean, government is government, I don't think, I could be wrong, government is not interested in doing the right thing. Government is just, in my opinion, is just there to get as much tax revenue as they can, as much revenue as they can, because revenue equals power. And the way I see it at the federal level now is, they pass bills and they don't even worry if it's constitutional or not. All they do is they pass it, and they pass a whole bunch of them rolled up into one bill, and then they hope that the majority of those things, that the Supreme Court doesn't say it's unconstitutional, right? So they're just saying,
Yeah.
okay, we're going to pass a whole bunch of things, and then pray to God if that these bills get through, and that this isn't affected, which is pretty sad. So it's not a matter of whether it's constitutional anymore. It's whether or not government has the resources. If government has the resources, then they'll pursue it,
I
especially if there's NGOs that are involved, those types of things.
yeah, you touch on something that reminds me of a thought that I had a few months ago. To me, I think Congress has a responsibility to propose new laws, pass new laws to improve things. like immigration as an example, or tax our tax bills, or when I see something like the big beautiful bill, when I would go to the gym in the morning and watch them arguing about it, and I just kept thinking to myself like, this is a little bit embarrassing that we're doing this. Like Congress doesn't move, and then the president is now forcing them to push everything through at once. Why aren't we going through one by one? What it's gonna sneak through in this big beautiful bill that we're not paying attention to because we see the great things that are coming out of it. Like I get it. Like I don't want tax on tips, but what about the thing that I'm not paying attention to?
You bring up a really good point, and I'll say, generally speaking, um, the national debt. We talk about environmental waste. For
Yeah.
me, the national debt is economic waste, right? So that's failed experiments that government decides it wants to pursue and then spends all that money and it just remains on our shoulders. And the only way that money comes off our shoulders is through new ways in order to pay it off, or we have to pay more taxes, or our kids have to pay more taxes,
Yeah.
right? So when you hear a party go in one direction, then the other party gets into office. It goes into a different direction. It goes in a different direction. That's massive, massive cost that our country incurs. That's why I keep saying I want the federal government to be consistent and predictable, because
Yeah.
a lot of the cost that we're wasting at the federal level is just parties going back and forth and instituting policies. I mean, you think about the environmental policies, and then we get rid of the environmental policies and we go in a different direction. All of that stuff costs massive dollars, right? And it's all experiments. And if we just focus on the central thing that the federal government is supposed to do and move away from all of those experiments and rely on our local governments for a lot of those things, because your local government, it knows what the citizens need and the people need in those communities, right? Your federal
Uh-huh.
government is furthest away from you. Now, there are some things that the federal government could do, right? But whatever government the federal government does, when you're talking about sustaining activities, right, that the government has to budget on, you should not be borrowing uh, Federal Reserve dollars for that in order for sustaining issues and policies, right?
Right.
You should be borrowing those federal dollars whenever you have real needs where there needs to be expansion in society, right? And we don't have that. And so what that does at the local level is it makes all of these, like providing for the general welfare, right? Providing the general welfare, where government is supposed to provide services for the people who need them. The, like my daughter was born with spina bifida, and I know other people who have special needs kids. Um, if your state or your federal government gets to the point to where they can't pay the bills anymore, there's going to be hard decisions that are going to have to be made.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. And so, and if we don't have an accountable government that is frugal with their money and understands that, we have to kind of plan for the future too. Um, but we're going to have a government that's going to fail us. It's actually already failing us right now. We see with some of the policies that the state government is doing, and so
Yeah. I no. I completely agree with you. It it makes me think too when I'm dealing with my own personal budget. When my wife and I are talking and we go, okay, well, um, you know, we can go on this vacation, but that means we're going to have to sacrifice something because if we have to get plane tickets, we have to, going to that place is going to be expensive because of food. Now I know that I have to sacrifice something, but when the federal government looks at things, they just go, we'll just grow the national debt. It'll just be another $1 trillion next year. It's not a big deal. And people complain about it, and it's always the party that is in the minority. It could be the Democrats or the Republicans. Whoever's in the minority will go, no, we can't do that. We can't afford to do that. And they go, we'll just shut the government down then until you're hurting, and we'll force you to do what we want to do. And I just think like, man, it again. I just sit there and watch, and I go, I feel like our representatives are there working against the American people, and I think a lot of people feel like that. And I go to like these events where I hear people like you talk, or other representatives that I met up and down the state, and I feel like California has men that are stepping up that want to turn it around. But then I see these people from outside of the state, and I go, it looks like we're becoming weak out there, though. And I'm specifically talking about the Republican Party. I'm specific, like I get that Donald Trump is this tough guy, but everybody else is kind of just nodding their head like yes and no. Um, Hang on, my kids want to get me out.
Oh, you're good.
Um, they just they go along, they go with the flow. And I think to myself, I feel, I mean, everybody, I feel like a lot of people see this. We're about to lose the House and the Senate because we didn't do what we needed to do. Or we didn't do enough. And I just pray every day, like, that might be happening outside of the state, but in California, we have to realize that the Democrats here have been failing us. I get that we're hurting with the cost of fuel, but we need to look at everything else. All of the assembly bills and the Senate bills that are passing here in California that are hurting families, or bills that just don't make sense, like this bill to protect people, protect from people that want to report on the Nick Shirley Act. I wanted to say what it formally was, but it's the Nick Shirley Act. I just think, why are we passing bills like this? And they've done it before. They've done it with the LGBTQ stuff. The Nick Shirley Act is just rewritten. To me, I look at it and I go, this is just an LGBTQ bill that was rewritten for immigration to protect the state or these NGO programs from somebody reporting it like Nick Shirley.
Yeah. So I will say that I first want to go into what a House member is supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? So a House member of the House of Representatives does not represent the state of California. It represents the people in the district,
Right.
right? So me as a House of Representative member, uh, my views align with the people and the needs of the people in the district. Like the farmers, they have the golden mussel that they're going to be dealing with in the next 3 months. That is going to skyrocket produce. Farmers are going to lose their farms, right? So we need to start finding ways for the farmers to work with Silicon Valley and vice versa in order to come with technological solutions in order to help them fight this golden mussel, because it's going to drive farmers out of business. They're not going to use the farmland. You're going to have massive dust clouds. You're going to have respiratory disease down there. People are going to move up into San Benito. They're going to move into San Jose. That's going to add more strain and stress on local communities, and healthcare access, housing, crime, economic opportunity, all of the things that Californians are worried about. It's going to apply pressure. And so, from the at the federal government level, like, I have to start looking and saying, okay, well, with all of the pressures, not only does the local communities have pressures from the federal and the state, but now they have all of these pressures coming up from the bottom, and they're getting squeezed in the middle, to where now you have the golden muscle that's driving up the cost of produce, because their cost is going up. We have to help farmers with water, where we have to get rid of these regulations on water. This is absolutely ridiculous. We need to unleash water. Water is life for farmers.
It is.
We need to help these farmers. They are losing. They're trying to do everything they can with all of these regulations. They have become so efficient, but right now they're about 3,000 acre feet short of water every single year. So, what they need in the future is they need 9,000 acre feet of water. So they are getting probably around a third of the water that they're going to need, uh, in the future, in order to sustain those farms and feed California, feed the United States. And actually, we can incorporate those things, those water needs, um, with the needs of Silicon Valley again. And I think the way to do that is hydroelectric power. It's clean power. It's 90% efficient. It has byproducts that we can collect and use and distribute for industries or housing or whatnot. We have dams that are already in place, which means retrofitting these dams with hydroelectric power is very, very cheap. Instead of starting from scratch.
Yeah.
So, and it's a lot cheaper. The energy that's produced from the hydroelectric, um, via hydroelectric, is a lot cheaper. So that would help us alleviate some of the energy costs that we're seeing right now. That's skyrocketing, for residents and whatnot, and also provide us enough energy in the future moving forward, and it'll give the farmers their land back. So I think we can add all of those things together: provide water for the farmers, provide energy for the cities to help drive AI and new technology, and I think CD18 is in a good position because it's like Virginia. Virginia was the key state. It was the head of the Southern Coalition, but it was also the bottom end of the northern region of the United States.
Right.
And so CD18 is very similar to that. We have the tech sector, on the north end, and we have the farm sector, the ag sector, on the bottom end, in the same areas, in the same district. And we have a really good opportunity of being able to lead the charge for the future, to say, because we have both of them in the district, and to say this is the direction we need to go. We just have to be able to lead. We just have to make the decision that we're going to be the ones to lead technology into the future, and we're going to make sure that we come up with solutions that protect our farmers.
I like that. I really like that, especially for the state of California. I feel like we need to turn it around, and um, I have a good feeling about this year.
I think so. I think so. If there is any, what I really want to do too is, regardless of what happens during this election cycle, there is absolutely no reason we should have a politician in government for 30 years. Absolutely none.
100% agree.
They have good ideas maybe for the first 6 or 8
Yeah.
years, and then after that, they're out of ideas, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of get into Congress and you start figuring out how Congress works, and maybe you're not motivated anymore, and then you start just towing the party line, and by that time it's time to get out. So I'm hoping from all of this, folks, you don't have to be an elite to run for office. If you have good ideas, right? We need people with good ideas in office. We need people that want to serve. We want people that have the energy to get up there and fight for community people and communities that will go out there and work with farmers to understand what farmers go through, to see what challenges that need to be overcome, to understand the intimate details, the intricate details of policies and how it affects the farmers. And so you're not going to get someone like Lofgren in there that's going to go out and work in the fields with the farmers and the farm workers. And I have already committed that if I am elected, I will go. I will work side by side with the farmers. And since the district is so big now, I will open a third location down at the southern end of the district, probably in the Fresno area, so that they won't have to drive all the way to, like an hour or two in order to get to my office. They can call, of course, but it's always better to have someone you can drive 15 or 20 minutes to, maybe 30 minutes to, and see them face to face. So I intend to really have um, conversations
You're gonna
with
you're gonna
with
have
people in my
you're gonna have
district.
an open door policy.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm gonna have to get a new car, man.
Oh man, I see representatives. You go to their office and they have a little camera outside. Doors are locked. They don't let anybody in. So, I
If you are good to the people, they will be good to you. And there's a reason why your representatives, live around you and work around you, because they pass policies that are not good for the communities. Your community is going to call you out, and that's part of the pressure that they're supposed to put on you as a representative, right?
agree.
Yeah.
Well, Shane, um, this is the point of the episode where I give you a couple minutes or a few minutes, however long you need to explain um, how people can help support you, how people can find you, whether that's on social media, however you want them to contact you, and your final message.
Yeah, I'll go with my final message first because I think that's more important. Um, so you will not hear another politician, because I'm not a politician, but you will not hear somebody else say that I am open to my positions changing based on the needs of the community, right? So as I learn more about the community, the needs of the community, it's not about enforcing an ideology. It's about understanding the needs of the community and seeing how the federal government can help with that. Um, and I think honestly, the most important thing the federal government could do is absolutely nothing. Again, being consistent and predictable within reason, right? Until you need something. So the best thing I could do is just sit back and listen and understand the needs of the community and make sure that those needs and those concerns are heard at the federal level, um, and that I champion those issues of the community. Yes, I have my understanding of what the government is doing, but that's not going to prevent me from listening to you and making sure that you have a voice at the federal level. And who knows, you may find that there's a better solution than what's been espoused all these years, because we've been espousing the same thing for years now,
Yeah,
right? I mean, and it's just been partisan this whole time. So there's always a better way to do things. I'm always open to learning about new ways to do things. I don't have all the ideas, and I'm glad I don't because it allows me to learn from other people. Um, and so, again, I'll just go over the things that I want to achieve. I want to fix immigration, the immigration system for good. Uh, People who are what I haven't done is shared my message about immigration because the state has been taking advantage of illegal immigrants for so long. Um, I think what should happen is the federal government should fast track these people to decide whether or not they're going to be legal or they're going to have to go back. And they decide right on the spot, you're a legal resident, so these people can go back to their home country to see their family if they want, right? Because a lot of these people have been here for so long. But if you stay here, you would not be eligible for citizenship for over 10 years. I'll just say over 10 years because it has to be decided collectively by Congress. And the reason for that is because if they become citizens, then the state gets to take advantage of those people once again, and they're awarded for all the years that they have destroyed these people's lives and taken advantage of them. So this is very similar to what Madison did with slavery. And I'll say this: we need to call illegal immigration what it is. We don't need to call people undocumented immigrants because the problem needs to be solved. Imagine if when slavery was acceptable, instead of saying slave, they said undocumented service worker. It would have taken all of the pressure off of government to do the right thing, and it would have never gotten solved. So the pressure right now, the reason why we have illegal immigration is government. It's not the people. Government is the issue. Government is supposed to be the one that is to make our border secure. If government gives signals that people can come in, we need to fix government to where it's consistent and predictable. I want to lower your taxes. And the last thing I'll say is I want to fix the census. Keep in mind the census affects everything local that you're concerned about. It affects housing affordability, healthcare access, economic opportunities, and it affects the pressure that's put on your local governments. And those three things I want to fix, plus the local issues such as getting us into the future with AI and in the tech sector, and making sure our farmers have water. And I know people are saying we're not going to give them their land back, but I think we can. I think we can. We reduce water regulation and help them with some of their issues that they have, and then we can make sure that the farmers can thrive again.
Thank you, Shane.
Welcome.
So at Latino Free Minds, we like to close out the episode in a prayer. Would you mind leading us in a prayer?
Yeah, let me say one last thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can reach me at shanelewisforcongress.com. You can give there too. I have a giving page. You can, if you want to volunteer on my team. I need lots of volunteers. Okay, so because again, there's 6 counties: Santa Cruz, Santa Clara, San Benito, Monterey, Kings County, and Fresno County. So I need volunteers to get the word out, to let people know that there's actually a better way that government can provide for the people in CD18, and that I'm excited to actually meet the challenge head on and try and make that happen for you guys. And then you can reach me at shanelewisforcongress@gmail.com. If you want to email me, you can email me there. or my number is 408-800-7910, 408-800-7910. And I will do my best to answer. I can't promise because I'm so busy, but if you want to leave a message there for me, feel free. Okay, and thank you for your time, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all. Would you mind closing it out in a prayer? Or
No, I don't mind at all. I don't mind.
I would appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Uh, Dear Lord, thank you so much for this time uh, that we had, being able to talk about my campaign and helping the people understand the role of government and Lord, the government needs their help. Um, if the people do not guide government, we will never have the government that we need in order for government to meet its purpose. And so, Lord, I pray that people would hold me accountable uh, in Congress, and I pray that you would give me the guidance and the wisdom to be able to know what to say, what questions to ask, how to listen, and to be able to recognize the needs when they come, so that I can share those at the federal level, and if they're basic enough, fundamental enough, Lord, and be able to share that with other people from other states to be able to recognize the same needs in their state. So help me to understand and give me the wisdom to know how to proceed in CD18. Help me reach people as I continue with the campaign, and to understand the needs of people. And I pray that minds would be opened, hearts would be opened, and ears would be open, Lord, that we would be able to find solutions together, that we wouldn't see each other as party members, but as people that we should care about, and relationships that we should nurture, and bridge a path forward so that our government can do the job that it was designed to do, and so that people can thrive, Lord, and provide justice for all. So, Lord, thank you. Thank you for Geo. Thank you for Latino Free Minds. And I pray a blessing over everyone that watched tonight. And I am very thankful for the opportunity that was given to me tonight. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you all for tuning in. And Shane, thank you very much for coming on and sharing your campaign with us. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure, man.